Welcome back, and today we're going to talk about how Netflix shows explain history. Because apparently the History Channel has been too busy with aliens and pawn shops. Today's episode, we're going to talk about how Stranger Things explains why we keep falling for government conspiracies. Because nothing says serious historical analysis like kids fighting demogorgons and monsters with slingshots and an Eggo waffle addiction. We always look at the government on every show as the villain, as the evil one, as the one hiding the truth. Everything from Stranger Things to The Fifth Wave to every zombie apocalypse show from The Walking Dead and so on, Independence Day. Everything we watch on television shows us that the government knows all the secrets and doesn't tell us anything. Instead, they tell us just what we want to hear and they hide the truth from us. There are many characters on Stranger Things and other shows that kind of are the bat crap crazy people, the ones who wear tinfoil hats and say the government's always doing it. There's Murray on Stranger Things. Of course, there is the character who flies into the mothership on Independence Day who says, I'm back to the aliens as he's blowing them up. And that's what we have always believed. We believe that the government is hiding the truth from us. In Stranger Things, all roads lead to Hawking's lab. Okay, it's a government energy lab that creepy men in suits, experiments on kids, and a facility that makes Area 51 look like a local Chuck E. Cheese. If you don't know what Chuck E. Cheese is, it's like a local place for all the kids to hang out, little kids to hang out, have birthday parties. A little odd, but kids go there and they have pizza that tastes like cardboard. And here's the thing, it's not fair to say that, right? But really, it is. Because it's not far from real history. MKUltra, real. It was a real thing. The CIA was out there here saying, what if we just gave people LSD and saw what happened? Spoiler, what happened was lawsuits. So when people today think the government is hiding UFOs or secretly putting microchips into vaccines, it's not completely insane. Well, it is, but history did hand them receipts. Basically, once you find out that the government actually tried psychic warfare, the idea of a reptilian congressman, not that far off. And this is where we're at today. It feels like the next logical slide on PowerPoint or on Google Slides or our next thing we're going to talk about on Twitter or TikTok or Zoom or Instagram or Facebook is how the government knew all along how we're just puppets in their play. Because if you remember in Stranger Things, kids were accused of being satanic. They were in a cult. Why? Because they were playing Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, that game that people still play today. But in the 80s, it was a whole different world. I grew up in the 80s, and Dungeons and Dragons was evil, satanic demons, okay? And some parents didn't care, so they just let their kids do whatever they want, which is basically Stranger Things. Other parents cared so much they forced their kids to do things that were completely insane to keep them away from the occult. Everything from what would Jesus do bracelets to going to camps for Christ, or just they would make up their own card games to mimic Dungeons and Dragons, but it wasn't the same. We played games when I got older with my kids, our church approved of, which was basically Dungeons and Dragons, but with superheroes. That was okay for some reason. Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, they had Christian versions of those too. Now, I'm not saying the Christian versions are horrible. What I'm saying is we have other bigger things to worry about, mostly in the 80s, than a game where kids are fighting monsters. To me, that wasn't a big deal, but it was. If you rolled the dice in your basement, you weren't a nerd. You were one step away from an animal sacrifice. That's what they thought. Or running away to join a cult, to be one of the Antichrist's followers. And then this wasn't fringe. Preachers, TV talk shows, entire PTA meetings were convinced heavy metal bands and fantasy board games were opening portals to hell. Ozzy Osbourne, who just passed away, big deal. He was working with Satan. he would show up in the middle, they thought if you play these games, Ozzy was going to show up with Megadeth or Metallica or any of these other bands, Twisted Sister. They would show up in your school and they'd eat a bat head right in the middle of your cafeteria. They thought that's how strong the occult following was for D&D. It wasn't, okay? Today we talk about QAnon, same recycled script. They're going after children. They're secret. They're evil. They're a cabal. Only we on the internet know the truth. It's just that in 1985, the villains were kids with dice. In 2025, it's Tom Hanks and a pizza place. Conspiracies are basically Marvel movies of paranoia. The plots change, but the formula is the same. The upside down is just our world, but creepier, darker, slimier. In other words, Twitter. Think about it. If you log in, suddenly your neighborhood is full of strange rumors, horrifying creatures, and people who swear they did their own research and they know more than what the government's telling us because they watched a video on YouTube. You're watching a video on YouTube right now. Trust me, you're not learning anything you don't probably already know, maybe just in a different way. In Stranger Things, kids use walkie-talkies to piece everything together, okay? They would talk, they would figure out clues, they would use things like, this is a code red, and when they went and got into a secret Russian lab, they were trying to talk, but their walkie-talkies wouldn't work. Today we use Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, we use Reddit articles, we text, we call, we mostly text, we message, we iMessage, we FaceTime. It's all to share information about things that we think we know more than somebody else. Reddit, big one. Facebook's from our cousins. Our cousins will post something. The government knows this, and they show some weird article or some weird picture, and they think the government knows all about it. Just letting you know, it's nothing, okay? You're looking at an article and wasting brain cells. And that's the hook. Conspiracies give you the rush. Okay, you look at something, you're like, oh my God. Then you feel special because maybe you're the first one to get it. Or maybe the second one to get it. You're the first one you know to get it. You watched this thing, you learned, you dug deep. You're not just a Karen from HR. You're Neo. You're seeing through the matrix. Chosen to fight the shadow monsters with memes, Facebook articles, retweets, hashtags, all the garbage that we do. Demogorgons don't just wander in. They become our fear, our trepidations. They come in because of fear. Trauma opens the door. Something has made you fearful of whatever it is, and you find something to help that fear, to understand that fear. Same thing with conspiracies. Nobody wakes up perfectly fine and says, you know what? Birds aren't real. No, it's fear. It's chaos. It's not being able to pay rent or thinking, well, maybe it's because Bill Gates has a weather machine. And that's why we haven't had rain, or this is why we have too much rain, or this is why I can't find a job. Vecna literally feeds off people's unresolved trauma. He's the bad guy in Stranger Things. QAnon feeds on the trauma of being terminally online. Instead of creepy vines wrapping around your head, it's just a Facebook Messenger blowing up at 3 a.m. with forwarded 9 times. 9 times. Videos from your uncle. So what's the takeaway? What do we do? How do you deal with this? How do I deal with this? First, don't let it stress you out. Don't let it give you anxiety or fear, okay? Conspiracies aren't glitches. They're features. Humans have always invented monsters when life gets too messy, when it gets too hard. The government lies once, and boom, you've got 40 years of theories about lizard people running a Taco Bell. Stranger Things nails it because it's a show of how paranoia works. Secret lab, moral panics, unseen monsters, and a town full of people who would rather chase rumors than deal with reality. Hawkins isn't special. Hawkins is just America, but with better synthesized music in a cool mall. It's, lots of Eggo waffles. So next time you hear Taylor Swift is a secretly CIA psyop, just remember, we've been here before. Stranger Things didn't invent the conspiracy brain. It's just dressed it up in 80s nostalgia with a killer soundtrack. And in history, the real monster was never the Demogorgon. It was always us. And maybe also the fashion. Seriously, parachute pants they're crime against humanity. And that's the point. Growing up in the 80s, I heard how JFK was assassinated by the CIA or by the Rhode Island Mafia or by this person or by this person. It was never the guy who actually shot at him. We still don't know, right? Everyone still thinks there's a conspiracy theory somewhere, or the earth is flat and it's a big lie by NASA in the world or in the UN, or, God, there's so many of them. There's the fluoride in our water is brainwashing us. It's the, lizard people are running the internet. Mark Zuckerberg is a lizard person, or Jeff Bezos is a lizard person. We hear MLK was killed by the CIA, Martin Luther King. We hear all of these conspiracies, but most of them turn out to be nothing. Now, have some of them turned out to be something? Yes. Thomas Jefferson, founding father, did sleep with the slaves and have children. It's been proven by science, okay? It's also been proven that we gave blankets and other things to native people that were full of bacteria and germs, and probably, most likely, killed a lot of them because of it, because their immune systems weren't set up to deal with the viruses that we had brought over from Europe. We do it all the time, okay? The government makes mistakes and then we go back later and we fix it. The moon landing wasn't fake. The world is round, well, oblong, okay? There are other, celestial beings out there. We have other planets in the moon, in the sun, and other stars and other galaxies. Okay, we're not flying straight up to hold us down. That's not how it works. And we don't have mad scientists learning how to manipulate kids' brains to destroy other people from far away. If we do, you can prove me wrong, go ahead. Have we done stupid psychic experiments with LSD and other drugs? Yes. Have we infiltrated, whatever? Have we gone into things like the Black Panthers and other radical groups? And have we tried to manipulate people to do what we want? Yes. Are there groups out there like Scientology and Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons to an extent who go out there and try to tell us things that don't make logical sense? Like, we're not aliens that are billions of years old living inside of bodies. That's not how it works. We can't sign up for a billion-year contract because none of us are going to be alive for a billion years. Okay? Jehovah's Witnesses, the way they believe just makes no logical sense to me. A lot of it's on science, and I believe God gave us science so we could use it to keep ourselves healthy and alive. Now, some science, bad things have happened. Atom bomb could be one of them. Creation of viruses by accident, like COVID, probably created in the lab, but I don't think they released it on purpose. I think it just got out. But we've also had science that has helped stop things like polio, the flu it normally helps out with, measles, mumps. It's helped with tetanus, many other things, okay? Now, do I think we have too many shots? Yes, but that's a whole different animal. Fluoride in the water to help with teeth. Is it great? Probably not, but they're trying to be helpful. They're trying to do something that will help people. And that's the point. Science normally tries to help people. What we see on Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, what we've seen on Independence Day, what we've seen on other shows, what we see on YouTube, a lot of it is just fake. It's trying to get people scared so they will invest in whoever's talking about it, and they're investing them with money, time, energy. And that's just not the game here, guys. Don't invest in somebody who's giving you the end of the world is coming, because guess what? It isn't always coming. Because here's the things about conspiracy theories that really, I think, get us, is we enjoy being entertained on television, on movies, and when the entertainment is close to home, if it sounds real, if it looks real, if it makes us feel like we understand the people in it, it becomes more realistic for us as a real problem. I grew up in the 80s. I was the age of the kids on Stranger Things in the 80s. Well, what the kids portray. So when they're talking about things, I think back to, oh, well, this was a little weird and this was a little weird. And I start thinking, maybe this could have happened. Because in the 80s, we also, we had shows that talked about conspiracies and small towns. We had things like Unsolved Mysteries, where they talked about freaky things that happened in the middle America, from UFO sightings to cow tipping to everything in between, right? And it became normal. So seeing these kids eating Eggo waffles and the new Coke and playing D&D and loud music and struggling in school and learning new things and the Russians, all of this was reality. So it makes it easier for me to understand them. And my demographic, of course, my age group, has kids and, even grandkids, some of us, and we start showing them these things. I remember when, and it becomes real for those kids because we tell them stories about this time. We tell them things that happened at this time. And it makes everything come alive. It makes it real. Hearing the Navy and the Air Force and our Army and our government talk about UFOs might be real. And Area 51 is a place. And we did do things like, give out syphilis on purpose, or LSD, or smallpox. And the Black Sox did bet on baseball and bet on losing the World Series. No matter what Field of Dreams says, people were involved. These are real. Cigarettes are bad. Okay. Even if a doctor smokes one on TV or in a thing saying Lucky Strikes are good for you, they're not. These things became real. Growing up, I didn't know cigarettes were going to kill you. Now you realize they do. I didn't realize how poor the Russian people were in USSR in the 80s. I thought they were just like us. But they weren't. They were struggling to feed their people because they were so worried about having weapons to nuke us all. You don't realize how close we were to World War III in the 60s with JFK and the Cuban Missile Crisis. Until later. The government hid a lot of things because they thought they were doing the right thing. They didn't hide a lot of things just because they wanted to be super secret. Some of the things they hid because they were embarrassed, like syphilis, LSD. Other things they hid because, well, it could have been bad. It could have been. So Stranger Things, not that far off. But just because a show or a movie or a YouTube video or a TikTok video tells you the world is flat, that the government is run by lizard people, that, the Illuminati are real, and that aliens are among us, and that you have to sign a billion-year contract for your soul, doesn't mean it's real. Use the brain that you got, use some common sense, and ask, does this make sense? And if it doesn't, if there's any shadow of a doubt that it doesn't, look into it more. Research it yourself. Don't go to one side. Go to both sides. Instead of going to the Flat Earth Society to learn about the Earth being flat, look at the Flat Earth Society, look at NASA, look at other government agencies, look at other governments. Look at what you can see with your eyes. Grab a telescope, grab binoculars, grab your cell phone if it has good enough zoom. Zoom in on things outside of your own world. And I bet you'll be amazed by what you see and by what you learn. Have a beautiful day. And remember, the world is round, paper is flat, and the government is not out to destroy each one of us. They have bigger fish to fry than you and me watching this video today.